hymn that you chanted just now in English is a translation of the original Sanskrit composed by Sri Chaitanya, who you know is considered an incarnation of love, bhakti, who lived about 500 years ago. And we believe that Sri Ramakrishna, the latest divine manifestation, subsumed within himself all the previous incarnations, avatars. In particular, he manifested that divine love in himself. Since the English translation was chanted, I was tempted to repeat the original Sanskrit, which is so mellifluous, and that could form a fitting prologue to this talk. It's called Sikshashtakam, 8 verses. Om Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreyakairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandambudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishamihajani Nanuragaha Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadaharihi Nadhanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhaktirahetuki Tvayi Ayananda Tanoja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Budho Kripaya Tava Pada Pankajasthita Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galadashrudharaya Vadanam Gadgadarudhaya Gira Pulakair Nichitam Vapuh Kadadava Nama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayitam Nimeshena Chakshusha Pravrishayitam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me Asrishyava Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshanaat Barmahatam Karotu Va Yatha Tatha Va Vidathatu Lampato Matprananathastu Sayevana Paraha Matprananathastu Sayevana Paraha. Friends, we'll discuss today a very interesting and important lecture Swami Vivekananda delivered on reason and religion. A text of that has been given to you. This was delivered in England, where Swami Vivekananda is asking certain very fundamental questions, which any rational person would ask in this modern world. All of you know that science has advanced over the last century in leaps and bounds. Swami Vivekananda did not have the advantage of seeing the rise of religion, although he anticipated this. As you know, Swami Vivekananda passed away in 1902, 4th of July. 1900 was a great, outstanding breakthrough of the discovery of quantum theory by Max Planck. 1905, Einstein's special theory of relativity. 1915, Einstein's general theory of relativity. And following the discovery of quantum theory, there was wave mechanics by Schrödinger, quantum mechanics by Heisenberg, and the entire conception of man, of nature, and the external world in which we live was completely revolutionized. Swami Vivekananda seems to have had a foreboding of the coming of these events. As you can see in the paper which has been distributed to you, he was anticipating the interconnectedness of the universe, which Einstein spoke about. Physically, mentally, spiritually, we are one. The idea of interconnectedness, which is the basis of the general theory of relativity by Einstein. When scientific discoveries came about, not so revolutionary as though at that time, even then Swami Vivekananda anticipated that religion will be in serious trouble. The kind of religion which existed at that time, of extra cosmic God living in his high heavens, and because of original sin, a human being being born in sin, and to be emancipated from that sin by the beloved Son of God, all this theology is wonderful. But a modern scientific person will question the fundamental basis of this theology. Even now, in this one of the most advanced countries of the world, United States of America, the idea of evolution, the source of creation, scientifically is not allowed to be taught in the universities. The church is opposing this theory because it will fundamentally question the theory of creation of the church. As a compromise, they said both of them could be taught. Swamiji famously said, warned, and I quote him, under the sledgehammer blows of the modern scientific discoveries, the doctrines of the church will get pulverized like pieces of porcelain. It's a very powerful, devastating statement. Even in Hinduism, the theological conception of God and the Puranic conceptions, as we call them, will no longer hold water. All of you know, your children who are growing up with Android and the internet will no longer accept these theories anymore. They'll say, what is the use of that God sitting somewhere and he's not looking after us anymore? People are suffering. So much of misery is in this universe. Natural calamities like earthquakes and tsunamis and tornadoes, super cyclones are devastating the world. Millions of people are dying. What is God doing there sitting? Is he watching? Is he the compassionate God? I don't believe in such a God. This is the modern cry. You have to answer this question. You can't wish it away and say, oh, just don't worry about all that. The Bible said this, the Quran said that, and the Vedas said that. They may say all that. The books are losing their relevance anymore. So Swami Vivekananda anticipated this and raised two fundamental questions. One, is it possible for science and religion to be scrutinized by the same kind of criteria? Two, in that case, if a part of religion goes away, will that be too devastating for the world? We usually shy away from these questions because we are afraid religion may be in trouble. God may go away. As Nietzsche once said, God is dead. Swami Prabhavananda, the founder of the Hollywood Vedanta movement of Southern California, said, when was he ever born? So these questions have been repeatedly asked by people, rational people, thinking people. Although They want to go to religious roots. Not that they're irreligious. They are not anti-religious. They have not lost faith in religion, but they are asking, what kind of religion is this? There's a huge movement in America, as you know. Young people are now taking the movement called how to be spiritual without being religious. I want to be spiritual. I want to be a noble person. I want to be altruistic. I want to help my brethren. I want to love everybody. But the religiosity is something which I can't take anymore. Going to churches, going to temples and putting on marks on your forehead. In India is very common. You have all kinds of malas and garlands and beads which you have. Come out of your shrine room, come out of your meditation and prayer and cut the other man's throat. What kind of religion is this? This is what we are doing now. Let us be very honest. Swami Vivekananda therefore thundered. Religions of the world have become lifeless mockeries. What the world now wants is character. That character which is one of boundless love, by which every word will tell like thunderbolt. Where is that kind of religion? Where is it to be found? This was the question Swamiji Vivekananda is trying to answer in this talk. Reason and a religion. He is asking, is it possible or necessary that religions should be scrutinized, evaluated, accredited, assessed by the same criteria or yardsticks by which secular sciences evaluate, assess themselves? And he also says, being a religious leader, religions have always shied away from this. If you tell a religious leader, I am going to assess you, evaluate you by the yardsticks of science, he says, don't come near me, you are the unfaithful fellow. This is only for faithfuls. That doesn't work anymore. You will be scrutinized. And this age of internet, you will be scrutinized, and the scrutiny will be on the internet and the YouTube for everybody to view in the whole world. You can't shy away. Swami Vivekananda says religions have been shying away from this question from time immemorial because they claim superiority. Religions always feel, you fellow, the secular science, you talk about the material things, you talk about perishable objects, you talk about things which don't exist tomorrow. We are talking about the spirit, about God which is eternal. And therefore we need and deserve special treatment. See, look at how this religious person, one of the greatest religious leaders of all time, had this audacity and the courage to ask such questions. Religions have been claiming superiority and then have been saying we cannot be evaluated and scrutinized by the same standards by which secular sciences are scrutinized. You are secular and we are spiritual and religious. There is a vast difference. What is that? We talk about the eternal, about God, about heaven, about the spirit, and you talk about dull, dead matter. And the religious person, after having proved that all the dull, dead matter which is absolutely useless, is constantly texting messages over his Android. You have to deal with matter. You are constantly immersed in matter. On the one hand, you have a rosary by which you chant the name of God. On the other hand, you have the Android. You can see that everywhere. So this is the modern life. You have to face this situation. And it has become very acute presently. Vivekananda submits that it is necessary that religious principles shall be subjected to the same kind of scrutiny by the same yardsticks and criteria as the secular sciences. religions will now whole. What if some part of religion goes away? What if the young man feel that this religion is useless? Vivekananda replies smilingly, let that part of religion go, because it should have gone long ago. If it can't face and stand the test of scrutiny, that religion is useless. What are the criteria by which secular sciences evaluate and scrutinize themselves? Vivekananda talks about two important criteria by which secular sciences, by which I mean the natural sciences, physics and chemistry and biology. Now we have many more, computer science and biotechnology and nanotechnology. All of these, the natural sciences, the secular sciences, they get scrutinized, evaluated, assessed on the basis of two fundamental criteria. One, the particular has to be referred to the general to the more general, till you reach the most general or the universal. The particular has to be referred to the general to the more general, ultimately you reach the most general, which is the universal. Swami Vivekananda gives a simple example. When Newton saw one apple fall, he was amused unpleasantly. How is it that the apple is falling? That was a particular event. He referred this particular to the general. Do every apple falls? Does every apple fall? Yeah, every apple falls. Not only apples, stones fall, objects fall, every object falls. Falling is a natural property of all the objects. Falling on the ground, I mean. We also fall when you can't walk properly. Falling on the ground is because of gravity. So Newton did not discover gravitation at that time, but he was only looking at a particular phenomenon of an apple falling. There is a great Englishman called Samuel Johnson. You must have heard his name. He was the person who compiled the first dictionary. And he used to use bombastic words, very complicated words. So they used to say, when somebody uses complicated English words, Johnsonian English. He had a club, and one of the members of the club did not come for a meeting. So somebody said, what happened to him? He fell down and had a fracture. He couldn't walk. Johnson is explaining what happened to him. Oh, it's very simple. Verticality was converted into horizontality through the instrumentality of gravity. It's falling down. So Newton found that one apple fell, two apples fell, all the apples fell, all the stones fell, every object falls. He was trying to refer it to more and more general observation. Ultimately, he got a universal principle called the universal gravitational principle. All of us know this, as we have read it in school. So you come to a universal principle of gravitation, and when you have come to that principle, you have got the rationale behind objects falling. This is not a particular event, but this is a particular manifestation of a general principle. This is how the human mind is acquiring knowledge. Human mind is never satisfied with particulars. Human mind always asks, is this a particular isolated event, unconnected with every other event, or is it a particular manifestation of a universal phenomenon, which is what we call law? So he discovered what is known as the law of universal gravitation. All of us know this. So the particular has to be explained, scrutinized, assessed, evaluated as a manifestation of a universal principle. When you come to that, human mind is satisfied. Human mind always classifies and generalizes. These are two fundamental tendencies of the human mind. Don't ask why is it so. That is because a human mind is never satisfied with looking at things as isolated phenomena. There is a fundamental urge in the human heart to universalize, to generalize through classification. All of you must have had some exposure to science in schools, and some of you must be experts. I do not exactly know who is what. You must have read the periodic table of elements in chemistry. When so many elements, more than 100 at that time, were discovered, the human mind is asking, are these elements completely isolated? The hydrogen, the helium, lithium, and so on? Or is it possible to classify them in such a way that there is a common pattern among these elements? Searching for patterns and a recognition of the existing patterns which nature has created in this universe has been a deep inquiry of a scientific mind. In computer science, there is a branch called pattern recognition. They call it CVPR, computer vision and pattern recognition. Human mind always wants to see a pattern. You see a pattern, a spider is weaving a web. What a remarkable pattern this little creature is able to weave. So you ask, what are such patterns in this universe? If you have a pattern, then you can classify a large number of objects in a particular pattern. For example, look at human beings. All of us appear to be basically different. We wear different dresses, we look differently, physically, intellectually. We appear to be so different. What is the pattern? So we look for patterns and classify human beings in different ways. Through classification, we go for a generalization. When the particles used to be discovered, early 20th century, the fundamental particle, as you know, is the electron. The discovery of the electron was a tremendous breakthrough by J.J. Thomson. It is a negative particle, as you know, and the atom being electrically neutral, there should be a positive charge which is exactly equal to the negative charge, and the atom should be stable. Stability and electrical neutrality. These two principles were necessary to find out where the positive particle is. Experiment showed the positive charge is located in a small space in the nucleus, and the electron is outside it. Then there's further discovered the electron is not static, it is rotating around the nucleus. What is the nucleus? They found there are two particles in the nucleus. One is called the proton, the other is called the neutron. The proton is positively charged and the neutron is electrically neutral. Then the human mind is asking the question, can't you reduce to a single particle? So how the human mind is inquiring. Why not have two? I feel uncomfortable with two. Can't you think of these two as manifestations of the one? Don't say there are two particles, there's one particle, and it manifests positively as the proton and neutrally as the neutron. Why? That satisfies me. There's a fundamental urge in the human heart to go towards one, unity. Vivekananda repeatedly pointed out the whole pursuit of human knowledge is moving towards unity, more and more unity. Sciences, religions, everywhere. Then they said, all right, I'll accept that. What is the basis of that? The basis is the electron and the proton have almost the same mass. They're almost identical twins. You know identical twins? Only one is a male, the other is a female. Identical male and identical two females, very common. One male and one female is rather uncommon. So these are the two particles which could be thought of manifestations of the same particle. So give a new name. Call it a nucleon. What is a nucleon? Nucleon could be either a proton or a neutron. How do you know which is a proton and which is a neutron? That which is positive and that which is negative. The electron is negative and the proton is positive, neutron is neutral. So nucleon is manifesting as two, but there's a small mass difference. This is what's called symmetry. So symmetry is the outlook of a human being by which he finds patterns. This is called, in physics, I'm not trying to teach you physics, SU2 symmetry. This symmetry says you have two particles, both of them fall in the same category, but only one is positive, the other is neutral. But then you say, but the small difference in mass, how do you account for that? How the mind back calculates. You say the symmetry is slightly broken. This is called the idea of broken symmetry. These are fantastic discoveries which science has come to the last century. And they also speak about spontaneously broken symmetries. Now, you have the electron to be accommodated, and so many particles came to be discovered. Can you put all of them in another framework? Expand this symmetry, SU2, after 2 you get 3. You come to SU3 symmetry. 8 particles could be accommodated. Gell-Mann was a famous scientist, physicist. He was very much attached to Buddhism. He called it the Eightfold Way. SU3 symmetry. Then they went on and on. You put SUN symmetry. Any number of particles could be accommodated, but you have a large symmetry. When you talk about large symmetry, you use an English word. What is that word? Superman. They call it supersymmetry. It's all well known in physics now. So you talk about a supersymmetric principle by which all the various particles can be considered as a part of the same part, as the manifestation of the same particle in different dimensions. So this is the human mind that constantly asks fundamental questions. Now if you refer a particular to a general to the universal and the most universal, you will seek to get a symmetric principle in which all the particles could be accommodated. People are trying for that now. Take forces in nature. I'm sorry, I have been trained in physics, so I always get examples from physics. You know, there are forces in nature, two particles, charged particles, either repel or attract. We have studied in school physics. This is called the electromagnetic force. And you have weak force that comes specifically in beta decay and so on. You have strong forces. What is the force between two nucleons? Proton, 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 neutron, neutron, neutron. It's called the nuclear force, which is called a strong force. And one force which everybody knows, the gravitational force. Gravitational force is an extremely weak force, but it is ubiquitous, it is universal. Once again, the human mind is asking, are there 4 forces? I'm very uncomfortable. Can you say there is only one force, of which all these are manifestations? The human mind will never be satisfied unless you seek the one. Then said, I think it is possible. Take the electromagnetic, weak and strong. They came up with a theory called the unified field theory. Unified theory of the three forces. Abdul Salam and Weinberg got the Nobel Prize for this discovery. But the gravitation is still hanging loose. Gravitation refuses to be associated with this group. Gravitation says, you can't get me into this. And physicists are frantically attempting now, through what is known the superstring theory, the string theory it is called, the gravitational forces and all the other forces should now somehow be brought together. We have so far been unsuccessful. But human mind says we shall be successful, wait for some more time. They said 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions, 16 dimensions, 32 dimensions, go on. But gravitational force is eluding you all the time. Gravitation about macro objects, the sun and the moon and the stars. And the other forces are about micro aspect. This is another problem. You have the micro world of the atoms and the molecules and the nucleus, the smallest of the smallest, and the macro world which is very big. Are there 2 principles of the micro and the macro? Once again, the human mind is very dissatisfied. Now the gravitational force, the macro world, which has its own set of laws, and the micro world is governed by the quantum laws. Can quantum theory and the gravitation be brought together? You may ask, why should they be brought together? Let them be separate. Human mind is not satisfied. You are alone, happy. You are not satisfied. Go and marry, become unhappy. That's what we do. Because you are never happy unless you bring the whole thing together. There should be only one. Husband, wife. They are not 2 different objects. They are the manifestations of the only one object called a spouse. It may be a male spouse or be a female spouse. And in India, we have a fantastic concept, Ardhanarishvara. The woman is actually a part of the man. They say, funnily, woman contains man. If you remove the W-O, somebody funnily said, why do you use the word man again and again? It's a gender bias. Man embraces woman. These are jokes. So human mind is asking, can there be 2 different sets of laws for the micro and the macro? Suppose you say, why not? The answer is, I am very uncomfortable. Why? Nature is beautiful. Nature is symmetric. Nature will have highly economical ways of functioning. Nature cannot have 2 different laws. There should be only one law. We are struggling for it unsuccessfully. But we'll still, scientists say, wait for some more time. We will find out. Now, the particular is referred to the general to the more general, and the most general. We take human life. All of us are sitting here, about 100 people. Somebody is an American, somebody is an Indian, somebody is European. All of us are different from the point of view of the country to which we belong. Somebody is a man, somebody is a woman, gender. So many differences and so many counts. Now we ask, can we generalize? All of us are human beings. That is a generalization. Can anybody say he's not a human being? No. So all the people here sitting can be generalized into one category called human beings. The dog which is happily sleeping there, I always admire dogs. Because they are thinking, what are these people sitting and listening to some talks? I'm happy. But this dog is particularly friendly. When you walk up, he knows everything. He looks like that, again goes to sleep. The dog is coming and asking me, Sir, you're talking about human beings. What about me? I have been serving this center for so many decades. And you're leaving me out? Oh, you are there. Oh. Generalize. What do I do? Living beings. That's a reasonable generalization. Dog, aren't you a living being? Yes, sir, I'm satisfied. Now this chair and the table keep on asking me, sir, I have been serving this, I have been here, this rostrum is serving me as a place where I can stand and talk. The microphone is telling me, what about me? Will you not include me in your scheme? Oh, you are also there. Living being, non-living being, let's say being. Is that acceptable? Existence, being. This is the most generalized form by which everything in the universe could be accommodated. Anything which exists is a being, and therefore in this huge generalization which is universal, you have existence. Sun exists, the moon exists, macrocosmic objects exist, celestial objects exist, nucleus exists, the particles exist, the atom exists, plant exists, human beings exist. So everywhere there's exist. In school algebra, all of us have studied. If you have ax plus bx plus cx plus dx up to zx, you do a simple exercise. Take the x outside, x multiplied by within bracket a plus b plus c, etc. up to z. You know this. So we say this exists, that exists, everything exists. Take exists separately. Existence multiplied by dog plus cat plus human beings plus animals plus sun plus moon plus everything in the universe. Now, can you think of existence as an abstract object? See how the human mind is thinking. I'm not talking about religion. I'll come to Vedanta finally. I'm silently pushing Vedanta into you. And you are quietly swallowing it without knowing you're swallowing Vedanta. There's a joke about a little boy who was not interested in studying mathematics at all. So his elder brother wanted to teach him mathematics, but this boy will not accept. Then he called him. You will not do mathematics? No. What do you like to do? I want to eat mangoes. All right. So I'm asking you, suppose you get 10 mangoes and there are 5 people in the room, you distribute it equally, how many mangoes each will get? Then this boy said, yeah, you are teaching mathematics, I know. So I'm trying to push you to Vedanta, and you comfortably and joyfully and carefully swallowing this Vedantic dose. So you take existence separately and put all the objects which exist into the bracket. Can we not now say that existence is an abstract universal concept, and the various objects which you talk about existing are superimposed to the infinite ocean of existence? Don't say sun exists and the moon exists and the atom exists, human being exists. Say there is existence on which the sun and the moon and the human beings are all placed. Would you go for that? No. If you accept that as a principle, then you can extract existence as a separate abstract entity and say this is the universal principle which unites all of humanity. Not only humanity, all the universe is united into this one universal principle called existence. Will you go for that? It's a remarkable discovery which was done in India several thousand years ago. And you know the Sanskrit word, most of you who are from India, you know the word for this? It's called Sat. Sat is existence. They also call it Asti. Asti means it exists. Now, this Sat which exists, does it require anything else apart from itself to reveal itself? Sat is an abstract universal principle. It doesn't require anything else apart from itself to be revealed. How does Sat reveals itself? Sat reveals itself just by being Sat, that's all. It's a self-revealing principle. The fundamental characteristic of Sat or existence is self-revelation. Why? Because if you wanted something else apart from Sat to reveal itself, there should be something else apart from that object to reveal that. And ultimately you'll go for infinite regress. This is called in Indian logic as anavastha dosha. It's a fallacy. In Western logic it's called regress ad infinitum. So the Sat, which is universal existence, is a self-revealing existence. Self-revelation is one of the fundamental characteristics of Sat. I would rather not call it characteristics, the very essence of Sat. So the self-revelation is called in Sanskrit Swayam Prakasha. It is just revealing itself. Just by existing, it is revealing itself. All of us exist, don't we? What is the proof that you exist? Can anybody prove your existence? Prove that you are sitting here. What is the proof? I am sitting here, that is the proof. The proofs somebody is sitting can be proved by somebody else. The proof that I am here, sitting, existing, doesn't need something else to prove me. You can prove so many things. But can you prove that you exist now by something else? No. The proof that you are sitting here, the proof that I am here, is that I am here. That is the proof. So existence itself is the proof of its revelation. It's called Swayam Prakasha. Swayam means its own, without any external agency. Prakasha, revealing. What is the word for this? Chit. Chit is self-revealing Sat. Now, so far, you have swallowed Vedanta this far. Now, what is the difference between consciousness and unconsciousness? This table is unconscious and I am conscious. This table doesn't come and announce to me that I exist. This world doesn't come and tell me I exist. But I say to the world, you exist. Look at this. Which means the unconscious principal objects in the universe require a conscious entity to certify to their existence. I'll give a simple example. I thought of this example to explain this. You are in a hurry to go to the office. You have an important meeting at 9 o'clock and you have to catch the train or the metro which leaves at 8:30. It's already 8:15 and you're just desperately in a hurry. The document which you have to take for the meeting, you can't locate it. And you cry and shout to everybody, where is that file I kept? I kept it here. You must have removed it. You scold your wife, your children. And she gets angry. You always misplace and scold me like that. Don't talk to me like this. So huge confusion there. But you open the drawer and find the file is there already. This is Act 1, Scene 1. Now let me go to Act 1, Scene 2. Belur Mutt, where I live, is the headquarters of the Ramakrishna Mutt and the Ramakrishna Mission. Celebrations are held throughout the year. A particular celebration, the public celebration of Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, anniversary, nearly 100,000 people attend. A huge crowd there. And there's an inquiry office where constant inquiries, announcements are made. So-and-so has gone missing, so-and-so is waiting here, a child is coming crying here, you find out, locate him, and so on. A mother has gone with a small kid, and the kid was in excitement, slipped off, and then it's moving here and there. The mother is terribly worried. Mom says, "Hey, John, where did you go?" John cries, "Mom, I am here." So look at these two scenes, Act 1, Scene 1, Act 1, Scene 2. I said, "Where is that file?" The file did not say, "I am here in this drawer." The John said, "I am here, Mom." What is the difference? The consciousness can reveal itself, but that which is unconscious can't reveal itself. It requires a conscious principle, conscious entity to certify to the existence of the unconscious. But it does not require any other agency to certify to the existence of consciousness. So this is called Chit, the principle by which it can reveal itself. It is called, in English, self-awareness. Only a conscious principle can be self-aware. You are listening to me, I am talking to you. I am talking to you is a statement. I am aware that I am talking to you is a second statement. What is the difference? I may be talking to you without being aware that I am talking to you. So the awareness of itself, called self-awareness, is the fundamental characteristics of consciousness. Self-awareness. So we have existence, we have awareness, which is Chit, and awareness of existence is joy. Think of this important statement. I was sitting quietly by the side of the beach, the vast expanse of the ocean there, or sitting quietly in the Himalayas, in the forest. Early morning, there's a beautiful sun which is rising there, it's like a golden hour. You are just lost. There's nobody besides you. You are just aware of your own existence, and you're so joyful. The joy which arises of being aware of existence is called Ananda. Not the Ananda which you get from something else. That is an Ananda, there's a joy which comes and goes, called Sukha. In Sanskrit, Sukha usually means a joy which you derive from some other object. I ate something which is delicious, I got Sukha. I touched something which is very delicious, very tasteful, I got Sukha. I saw an object which is so pleasant, I got Sukha. So all these Sukha come from outside through the contact of the senses with the objects. It's called Sparsha, touch. The eye is also touch, the ear is also touch. Ehi samsparshada bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. This Sukha which you get there, this joy which you get there, ultimately changes into dukkha, sorrow. Why? Because this Sukha has a beginning as an end. And when it ends, you feel so sorrowful. So Vedanta is asking, is there a joy which doesn't go? Which does not change into dukkha? If such a joy existed, then there should not have a beginning or end. If it doesn't have a beginning or end, it should not come from outside. Anything which is coming from outside will go. And therefore, it should be a self-awareness of existence, which is not anything which is external to me, and awareness of existence is Ananda. So I get the universal principle called Sat, which is existence, Chit, which is awareness, and awareness of existence, which is called Ananda. So the universal principle, according to Vedanta, is Sat-Chit-Ananda. Swami Vivekananda says in this talk, this is the only kind of God which is acceptable to science. The God which is sitting there up there and rejoicing at our sorrow, we don't want this kind of a God. Swamiji is 100 once. I don't believe in a God who can't give me 2 pieces of bread when I am alive and promises me eternal happiness when I am dead. You come to my heaven, I'll give you eternal. You give me happiness now. Vedanta is not interested in post-mortem happiness. I want now. Ihaiva. There is a statement in the Gita and the Upanishad. Ihaiva. Now, here. So Sat-Chit-Ananda is the most universal. The second principle, as I said, the explanation of a phenomena should come from within it, not from outside. Gravitation, for example, you say a demon went and dragged that apple to fall down, or God wished that you should suffer. Why am I suffering? Oh, God thinks that you should suffer. God is sitting there and punishing you all the time. This is an external explanation. The explanation should come from within, that is science. So Sat-Chit-Ananda is an explanation which does not require anything external. You are that. Now, Sat, Chit and Ananda, this has to be beyond time and beyond space. Why? Because anything within this, which is within space and within time, will be conditioned, and therefore it will have a beginning, it will have an end. And this Sat-Chit-Ananda, which is beginningless and endless, therefore should be beyond time, beyond space, and therefore beyond causation. What is causation? Causation, there is a cause and there is an effect which follows. The cause and the effect are always, it's a sequence of timing. Yesterday was the cause, today was the effect. Today is the cause, tomorrow is the effect. You seem to have a bad cold. Oh, I got drenched in the rains yesterday. Oh, is it so? Be careful. You have a cold? Yeah. Why? I am going to get drenched in the rain tomorrow. You laugh because it's ridiculous. Cause has to precede the effect. And the effect is actually the cause which is reborn. Effect is not a separate entity. It is the same thing. Now, if it is beyond time and space, it has to be infinite. Why? Because anything which is finite will be within space and time. If it is infinite, it can't be 2. Why? There are 2 infinities, Vivekananda said. One will limit the other, both will become finite. Infinity 1 is coming from that side, infinity 2 is impinging on that, both will become finite. So if it is 1, it has to be me. Why? Because if there is anything apart from me, there are 2. So Vedantic fundamental conclusion, you are that infinite self. Tat Tvamasi. The Guru comes and tells you, you are that infinite self called Sat-Chit-Ananda Swarupa, and this is the most universal to which you refer all the particulars. Does the personal God go away? No. Personal God is sitting in the high heavens and doing whatever he is doing. He gets a new sanction through Sat-Chit-Ananda. You say he is only the personal reading of the impersonal called the Sat-Chit-Ananda. What does it mean? That impersonal Sat-Chit-Ananda Swarupa, which is infinite and universal and impersonal, can't be comprehended by your small mind and senses. Because your senses are limited, your mind is subject to time and space, and therefore that can't be comprehended. When you try to look at that Sat-Chit-Ananda who is infinite and the universal through the lens of the mind and the senses, he appears to be the personal God. So personal God doesn't go away, he is not in trouble. He reappears with a new sanction of the Sat-Chit-Ananda. So Vedanta therefore says, this Brahman or the universal principle called God has 2 forms. One is called the Saguna Brahman, the other is called the Nirguna Brahman. Nirguna Brahman is the Sat-Chit-Ananda which is universal and impersonal. Saguna Brahman is the personal God. call it Christ, you call it Kali and Krishna, or Ramakrishna, or Buddha. All of them are personal gods who is the impersonal seen through the lens of time, space, and causation. The entire world gets a new meaning, doesn't go away. All the particulars that you have are not wished away, they are reinterpreted, they are seen in a new light, and you see the whole world saturated and enveloped by the supreme consciousness called the Sat-Chit-Ananda, of which you also are a part. And if you are ultra-Advaitic, you want the extreme of Advaita and Vedanta, some people have realized, why do you say the entire thing is saturated by the supreme consciousness of which I am a part? I am that consciousness. Why? Because just now we saw, if it is infinite, it can't be two. If it can't be two, it has to be me. And I am that universal, impersonal, supreme consciousness called the Sat-Chit-Ananda, in which the entire universe is floating. The sun and the moon and the stars and the atoms and the molecules and plants and animals and men and women, all of them are rising and falling like waves in the ocean of Sat-Chit-Ananda, which I am. That's what Vivekananda did. In one lecture, it seems he said, never forget the glory of human nature. Buddhas and Christ are but the waves of the infinite ocean which I am. Mai ananta maham bodho ascharyam jiva vichayaha ujjanti ghranti khelanti pravishanti svabhavataha. Ashtavakra Samhita. Extreme ultra-Advaitic text. I am that infinite ocean of consciousness, Sat-Chit-Ananda, in which various beings and non-beings and the worlds are constantly arising and falling like waves in that ocean. What happens then? You realize yourself as the universal. Then you are connected with everybody. This is called prema, or love. In love, there is a universal principle of love in which everybody is united. And you become sarva bhuta hite rataha. This is the last word in Vedanta. You become supremely compassionate, kind, loving. The entire world is united with you, just like waves in the ocean. I am that ocean in which, oh, you come here, you are just a bubble in my ocean. You are there, you are a wave. Oh, Buddha, Christ, you are but waves in my ocean which I am. So you are connected to everybody as the ocean. I will end with a story, which I am very fond of repeating. Swami Vivekananda was in Paris at that time. There was an actress, an opera singer, very great celebrity called Emma Calvé. She was terribly disturbed and extremely frustrated, unhappy, as most celebrities usually are. We call them celebrities and then we clap our hands and then eulogize them. You do not know in their personal life how much of sorrow they go through. They are lonely, they are desperate, they are frustrated. She was almost thinking of committing suicide. Somebody said, go to an Indian yogi, Swami Vivekananda in Paris. She entered Vivekananda's room after an appointment. Vivekananda did not even look up. The moment she entered, Vivekananda said, oh my child, what a terrible atmosphere you have been bringing with you. Calm down, calm down. She came and sat. Swami Vivekananda looked into her eyes, started speaking about some of the innermost secrets of her life, which she had not shared with anybody. She became terribly frightened. Is it hypnosis? What is this? Confused, flabbergasted, cried out, Swami, how could you know all this? Did anybody speak to you about me? Swami Vivekananda smiled, is it necessary? I can read you like an open book. Calm down, my child. Your health requires it. Your art requires it. Then he gave him a great spiritual Vedantic impulse. Don't secretly brood over your sorrow. You are not a small little entity encased in this body and the mind and the senses. You are that vast, infinite Sat-Chit-Ananda ocean, which is existence absolute, knowledge absolute, and bliss absolute. Come on, realize yourself as the infinite and the vast. And the powerful spiritual impulse of this great yogi straight went into her. You know what happened? She was losing her individuality as a little entity. When that happens, all of us are frightened. That is death. She said, Swami, what are you doing to me? You are taking something away from me. I can't take it anymore. Swami Vivekananda used to make fun of the Westerners particularly. You are so terribly afraid of losing your individuality. But you are not individual Z. You will be when you become universal. Then he told a story, which is a fitting finale to this talk. A water drop was falling into the ocean. The drop was profusely crying out. The ocean said, my child, why are you crying? Oh, I am going to lose my individuality as the drop. The ocean said, my child, you are not losing your individuality as the drop. You are regaining your individuality as the ocean. Look at that. You were me. And the sun's rays took you up. Now you are coming back to my bosom to join your trillions and billions of water drops, sisters and brothers, and you become the universal and the ocean. This is the message. The message is the universal with the Sat-Chit-Ananda, which we are, is the only rationale by which religions can survive the onslaught of science, because the principles of science by which they are measured and assessed, if they are applied to religion, Vivekananda felt the religion of Vedanta, the philosophy of Vedanta will be the only religion and philosophy which will survive the sledgehammer blows of modern scientific discoveries, and it shall not pulverize like pieces of porcelain. It's a rock on which the entire structure of humanity is built. That you are one, you are that infinite self, and the entire universe is within you. You are the world, and the world is you. Thank you.